Hey YouTube, welcome back to Uni XTCG. And today we're going to do our first video on Purple Kaido. It is Purple Week. You guys don't know what that means, but basically my first week of locals and box tournament, I went with straight Zoro, played nothing but Zoro, and the following week I played nothing but Kid. So this week I'm playing nothing but Kaido. I built a list kind of specifically for my regional meta, and what I mean by that is, yes, there are going to be decks that are better or worse than other decks, but depending on where you are, certain decks may be more popular. I basically, like, Law, for instance, is by far structurally one of the best decks in the game, but I know in my area, Zoro and Kid were the most dominating, like, represented decks, period. Like, I've gone to tournaments where I've literally only faced Zoro or Kid throughout all of my rounds up until like 4 rounds of Swiss and then like a top 8, a top 4, and a finals. So with that being said, we're going to get into the list. I do want to remind everybody that the giveaway that I was doing, I'm tallying that. I might just drop that on like Christmas Eve. I'll see. It's getting really, really busy, especially with everything picking up the way it is in terms of views and your support. I'm just trying to make sure I keep putting out informational videos to make sure I don't fall off that algorithm. So we're going to slip it in there. Don't worry, it's coming. And yeah, the past video, we were still trying to get it to 100 likes. And if that happens, I'll add on one more Film Red starter deck and one more Marine starter deck to my giveaways in the future, because I was going to give away 1. I'll bump it up to 2. These things just have to be going. Heck, I may do it anyway if we still keep growing at the speed we're going. So if you want to help the channel grow, just go down, hit that subscribe button, like the video, comment to help it trend even more than it already is. And yeah, if you want to join the Discord, the link's in the description. Come over there, talk about everything. But let's jump into the Kaido list. So, before we start off, I think it's actually pretty funny to note that, like, the only difference between the normal Kaido and the, like, special edition Kaido, of course, between the manga and the anime, is that this one is, like, just shaded out with his face, whereas this one is, like, super angry. So I just put him in the same case. You know, you kind of know the deal. If the game's not going the way I want it to go, I kind of, like, flip it over. If I, you know, like, something's getting serious, I flip it over. No. But all jokes aside, we're going to talk about Kaido. Now, I will say before I even start this profile that Kaido so far has been my least enjoyable deck being played since Romance Dawn came out. When I was playing the normal, like the limited deck battles, I very much so liked Kaido. But it's very weird. I've tried to play a list that I cherry-picked from a top list. I've worked from there. I've thought about what I hated seeing from a Kaido player as a red and green player, and I just started moving from there. So this list may be odd because my experience is mainly from the standpoint of somebody that played this before the set got released, and then somebody that has played intensively from red and green standpoint. And now I'm trying to build this. So far I've been to a couple of locals, I've been to 2. I was X1 in both of them. My matchups, I haven't been able to face blue yet from this with Kaido. I've seen other blue players face off against Kaido, but I haven't been able to play against blue yet. I've played against the Mirror, I played against Zoro, and I played against Kid. So here we go. And like I said, before you guys flame me on this list, just know, like, those were the vantage points I was coming from. First thing off here is 3 Black Maria. Used to be 4, but, you know, sometimes I'm just seeing that way too much. And in this deck, since there's no search, you can't really fix your hands well. You can only see filter when you see queens and maybe Sasaki's if you play them. And so essentially, you can draw all ramp, no bombs. You can draw all bombs, no ramp. You can draw all defense and a little ramp, no bombs, vice versa. So sometimes this deck, like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is Kaido is the only deck I've played in One Piece so far that feels like every game literally feels like you're playing at a different pace. Very rarely do you feel like every single game you play is like, oh yeah, this is the Kaido deck. Like, that's how I feel about it. And with red, it's very easy. You're running a bunch of 4-ofs and they do simple things. With green Kid, again, you have a bunch of searchers, you have Rizos to draw, and you're running a lot of consistent numbers. So everything, once again, does the same thing. So where we are at this point, I have 2 Who's Who's, and there's going to be a thing in here you're going to see soon that's going to have a lot of people frazzled. And that is that I do not play 6-drop King. And that's the reason why I don't play him is I know he's a body. I know he comes down on 6. However, I feel like right now, remember when I was talking about X Drake in Kid, and I was like, there's not a lot of high priority 4-drop targets. Most of your targets are 3 and less and 4 or 5 and more. And so there's not really ever really a time like that I'm looking at a 4-drop. I'm like, oh, I need it gone. Like blue has the most of those. Blue is where it matters the most. And maybe that's going to be the thing where I do need to switch it back in, because blue is what I have faced the least with Kaido. So we're going to change that, because I don't want to walk into blue and not be able to destroy any boas or, you know, any of their other prime 4-drops, their Gecko Morias, things like that. But since most of my locals is red and green, I did prepare for the fact that Zoro, Okiku, Bonnie, Nami's, Momo's, they all get smoked by Who's Who, and so I opted to play some Who's Who's over 6-drop Kid. So then we have the 2K suite. I do run 11 of those to make sure I can combo. And then we have the queens, of course. This one might also frazzle people. I do play 3 of the new king. And the reason why is the same exact logic I was just talking about. My locals is almost wholeheartedly red or green, and there's some mirror matches with the Kaido. So every now and then we have a Dofi player, but normally our Dofi players are hardcore Dofi grinders. Like I've seen a Dofi player in the finals of my box tournament last week, and I've seen another Dofi at like another 20-something person locals. And so, yeah, that's pretty much that. And then my ex-roommate plays Dofi, and I do respect him as a player. He's been grinding DBS for a while, and he's pretty good. So, with these, though, the logic is most of the time you 2-for-1 red and green very, very hard. You know, you can swing neutral into a Zoro, into a Bon, or into an Okiku, into a Robin, have them waste a card, then tap your 7 -2 Dawn, and then go poop poop, and then just blow up multiple things. And seeing multiples of these, like 2 of these in a game, can really, really blow something hard. So maybe I should play 4. I don't know. Now, this is the card that I've been experimenting with the most, and after tonight, I can openly say I love it in the mirror, and I love it versus green. Any other matchup, I think it's like, you know, take it or leave it. I haven't been able to test it out against blue, so we will see. It is an 8-drop, so they can't really touch it. But against red, it's take it or leave it. If red has pushed me in a corner, I very rarely want to play this. But if red also, if I'm in control, if I'm curved out, then I can play this easily, and it's just a fine card. But that's purple at its finest. This card does a couple things. One, it's an 8-drop. So I'll be able to play this well before my green opponent can establish Kid. And that means that when they do establish Kid, they get left open some very, very suspect points. Like me playing King, blowing up multiple blockers, and then swinging, putting Dawn underneath Kaido and swinging in and having them blow out their hands trying to keep their kid alive. That becomes a major problem. The other things that can happen here is that he also adds 1 at the end of every turn, 1 Dawn. And this allows you to have some very interesting math. Like I have had 10 Dawn, I've done my swings, I've -7 to burn my opponent's life. Onigashima back up to 4. Then I've ended my turn. He's given me a 4th additional Dawn. And then on my next turn, well, during their turn, they swing and I Thunder Bogwood with 2 or less life, or life left, got another Dawn. And they swung in, and I was like, okay, that's cool. So now I literally have 1 tapped, 1, 2, 3, 4. I tap 2 to get a 5th one. And then, yeah, so that's like 1 Dawn I got from, I'm so sorry. I ended with 3 Dawn, right? And then I Onigashima'd 1 up, and then I got the 4th, so that's 4. I got the 5th Dawn, and it was untapped from this leader effect. And then that actually had, why am I doing this? We have cards here. I'm so sorry. So after putting 7 back for my for this effect, right? We end up looking like this. And I used Onigashima, I tapped it to put a Dawn back. Then afterwards, I ended up using his effect when I ended my turn to give myself a Dawn. I had 2 life, so when he swung and I Thunder Bogwood out of it by tapping 2, I went up 4K and added another Dawn. Then for my next turn, you know, I untap, added 2 more Dawn, Onigashima, and was able to literally make a play or 2, and then -7 again to crit him back to back. Trash 2 life back to back turns, and then be like, bet, and swung out, and it gamed him. So this card allows you to do a lot more with your minus effects, and it changes your economy. So that's when it gets green. And then the mirror, I did play the mirror tonight again, and I stuck this one on like turn, like I did see Onigashima and I stuck him on like turn 4, I think. And it was destructive because for the rest of the game, we were trying to play the same game, but he had island and I had island, but I also had this Kaido. And so I was just pulling ahead of him in terms of momentum. He had more cards in hand, but I was playing more cards, and I rushed him down so hard he could not play the 10 drop because I would just end him the following turn. So it was actually pretty cool. I'm on the fence about whether I'm keeping this guy in, but when I do see him, I really like him. He's one of my favorite cards in the deck, even if he's not optimal. So I'm going to keep testing him and find out whether he's just a pet of mine or whether or not he is actually a good card. I play 2 of these, mainly because just being a 9 drop, they do kind of clog. I probably need to play more because what I have been finding is that, you know, you could draw all day. Like this card draws you 1. Queen draws you, and I'm not going down on Queen, but sometimes you just need more numbers. Like I could do something like take out 2 of these and put in another 1 of these and be fine. Or take out 1 of these or 2 of these and put in 2 more copies and be fine. So we're still working on our ratios, don't get me wrong. Then we have these. Because essentially I'm playing Kaido as a control deck unless I feel the need to push. If I'm going against Law, or not Law, Kid, I'm going to push a little harder because I need to get them down to kill range before they put me down to their kill range, which is 1 life. Then against the mirror, because you know you're going to be critting, you need to deal them about maybe 2 damage because you know you're going to, well, in my build at least, you're going to probably crit them for a good 2 damage and then try to swing in with your bodies. But the whole point about this card is if you're at 1 life when you play this card, you're still probably on death's door. You like to play this card at 3 life, maybe even 2 life, but you need to be able to take a hit maybe next turn when you clear their board and you know their leader's going to come in. But he's a pretty good card in general. Like he breaks matchups. Your opponent can never put too much on the board because they know that he's coming. You got Onigashima Island. Onigashima, you've got the best little protection in the game, Blast Breath, and then you've got Thunder Bagua. I was talking about, you know what, they say Thunder Bagua. I like Raime Haki. Like I said before, it's just a very good card. You know, you generally have the Dawn up to do it, and especially if you have this guy up because he adds 1 untapped at the end of your turn. So having this guy up, you always have at least 1 Blast Breath ready. If you leave 1 Dawn open, you always have at least 1 Thunder Bagua ready at the end of your turn no matter what. So that being said, that's kind of how that works. I'll be going up and down. Like my particular list, I will use Kaido's -7 like 2 times. I used it 3 times in the mirror like today, so it is just what it is. Like this gives you extra when these 2 are on the island, you were playing a weird game, and it just wasn't cool because when I stabilized in the mirror and I saw this second one, I was like, what the crap? And I played it and it was just like, it was not good for him. And then Thunder Bagua allows you to go down, get your Dawn back up, counter, and then keep going up so you can consecutively hit them with multiple things. So we still have, because it's Christmas week, I still have 1 more local to go to. It will be tomorrow, and after tomorrow's local, I may just have some webcam with some friends or some Discord patrons and see if I can get some more Kaido games. I will not lie to you guys. Like I said, coming off of playing Kid, I definitely think that Kaido is my least favorite deck amongst these, but we are going to see for sure. That being said, I do want to get a little more sample sizing, maybe see if I can get one of my blue friends to come play some games versus me so I can have a full field to talk about. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I was also I was seeing the comments, and a lot of people were kind of not up in arms, but definitely not in full agreement with my meta flow. And to be real, you don't have to be. Meta flows are their opinions. Nothing is 100% subjectively correct or incorrect until we have a much bigger sample size. The game has been out for not even a full month in Global, and Global is clearly playing the game in different ways than JP. Otherwise, we would have Law literally everywhere, instead of Law just being almost like not even a rogue deck, but definitely on the fringe of the meta. You don't really see like Law clogging up a top cut on any Global event. So that being said, These are my experiences, and granted, I will put it up there. I do have a fair amount of sample size. I play with my friends. I'm watching people play, and on top of that, I have 6 locals a week and a box tournament. So I'm going to 7 tournaments a week, and it's been 3 weeks pretty much. So yeah, I have a fair amount of sample size to go off of, but just because I say this is how it's worked out in my area and what I've seen with my eyes, that doesn't mean it's the end all be all. This is just how I've played, what I've played against, what I've noticed at my locals, what I've noticed watching people's matches next to me, watching people's matches when I'm done. So yeah, I'm always happy to have your input, whether it be in the comment section, whether it be in the Discord, whether it be on Reddit, Facebook, anywhere. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you the next time you decide to drop by Universe X. Thanks, later.